For the rest of you that are staying here, why don't you go ahead and take your Bibles and turn to the book of Romans, chapter 10. Romans, chapter 10, the title of the message this morning is called The Weakness of Legalism. As we continue a series that we began a number of weeks ago called Reading Romans Backwards, which is inspired by the book of Romans, but also by Scott McKnight, who released a book by the same title not too long ago. And in it he says, really, chapters 12 through 16 of Romans are the heart of the message of Romans. And so that's where we began. That's why we started reading Romans backwards. We've gone through chapters 12 and 16 now. Now we're going backwards. And we've done chapter 9, we'll do chapter 10, but then we'll leave even further backwards. But the chapters 12 through 16 are really the living theology of Romans. Our praxis. It's the way that we live out our faith. And McKnight says that chapters 1 through 11 are really the supporting points of that. So that's where we get to see examples that back up this main theology of what it looks like to live Christ in the world, within our communities, and within the larger context of the world around us. So the question really is, how do we live out our theology? How do we live out our faith? And that's always been the central question for Judaism and for Christianity as well. In our passage today, Paul picks up on a debate that is pretty hot in his time. It's a contemporary debate in the first century among Jewish folks, and different people have different ideas on it, but it revolves around Deuteronomy chapters 29 to 30, which is part of what he'll quote in our passage today when we get into chapters 10, 1 through 13. In it, there are promises from God, promises that God will bring about for those who live according to the law. But Israel was never able to quite live up to the law and to the measure of God's standards. And so, instead, they experienced subjugation and exile for failing to live out God's way in the world. And part of the promise was to be able to live in the land. And so when they go into exile, it's really no one else's fault but their own. Now, Deuteronomy 30 shows that the law that God was to give, it says that it would not be difficult for them. And it would not be beyond their reach. The problem was, Israel was looking for a law and waiting on a law that they could actually live up to. And they were wondering, when would God actually give this law that we can live up to? Because we haven't been able to live up to the one that He's given so far. And there were different answers to this in Paul's day. Different people had different solutions and different interpretations as to how that was going to happen. N.T. Wright mentions two different interpretations that were common during Paul's day. He says one answer was given in the book of Baruch. And Baruch is a book in the Apocrypha. And it was a book that was read widely by Jewish folks in the first century. And in it, N.T. Wright says the writer expounds on Deuteronomy 30 in terms of wisdom. He goes on to say the need is for Israel to get the true wisdom, which nobody can find by going up to heaven or crossing the sea. God alone will give it to Israel, and when He does, Israel will be restored, saved, rescued from her long exile. So they believed that there was a wisdom that was coming, and I believe it came in Christ. A new law called the law of love. But they were waiting on this new wisdom to come, to make it and enable them to be able to live out God's will in the world. There was another interpretation which came from the Dead Sea Scrolls, a specific scroll within the Dead Sea Scrolls called Some Works of the Law. Now, the Dead Sea Scrolls were found in the area of Qumran. This is the Dead Sea. Jericho would have been right over in this area. There was two Jerichos, an Old Testament Jericho and a New Testament Jericho. Now there are three Jerichos. There is a contemporary Jericho. So this is right in this area where this community decided to live out in the wilderness by the Dead Sea. There was a spring out here that kept things kind of fresh, and they created an aqueduct system that fed their whole little town. And it was occupied by a group believed to be the Essenes. And the Essenes was another Jewish sect. So you've got the Sadducees, and you've got the Pharisees, and you've got the Essenes, who have kind of separated themselves from all those other groups, and separated themselves from the Temple of Jerusalem because they believed that Israel and the priests that were in Jerusalem were corrupt and compromised. So they moved out to the desert and created their own community out there. What you're seeing here is sort of an artistic rendition based on archaeological finds in that area of the community that they lived in. And there are all sorts of aqueducts that are feeding this, that catch the rainwater, and it goes into mikvahs. And a mikvah, the best way to explain it is if you've ever been to a Baptist church is just like the baptismal. In fact, it's really where we get our idea of baptism by immersion, is the practice of ritual cleansing that they would practice in communities like this, where you walk down some steps into some water, and you dunk yourself, and then you come back up, and you remain clean, and they would go into their scriptorium, and they would write out scripture, and they would just practice living in community, a community of prayer, kind of like monasticism today. A community of prayer dedicated to interpreting scripture, and also prayer, and also living out the law. And that was their main idea. They were dedicated to rigorously fulfilling the law, believing if they could do this, then they would bring about Israel's redemption, or at least a remnant of Israel would be redeemed. And of course, they believed that they would be a part of that remnant, and a part of bringing that about. But the problem was that they must have failed, because somewhere around AD 66, they were overthrown by the Romans when the Romans came in and destroyed, sacked Jerusalem, because there was a rebellion going on, and the Essenes were actually part of this, believing that it was part of the end-time battle, that they would win by some miracle. Unfortunately, they did not. So what you're seeing here is the remains. You can actually go visit this today in Qumran area of the Dead Sea, and stop in and walk through that and see all those mikvahs and see all the shells of all of the different places. Many of these different buildings, they've actually figured out what they were used for. You can see what it was. And there's actually a graveyard, which I didn't realize until my second time walking over it, because it's just kind of small piles of stone all over the place. It just looks like a bad job of piling stones. Well, it's because it was 2,000 years ago, and that's actually the graveyard of those that were in the community back then. But they were wiped out when Rome subjugated the Jews of Judea. So obviously their interpretation wasn't quite on. Paul gives a third interpretation, and that's the interpretation that we get into as we look at our text today. Let's go ahead and read verses 1 through 13 of Romans chapter 10. Brothers, my heart's desire and prayer to God for the Israelites is that they may be saved. For I can testify about them that they are zealous for God. But their zeal is not based on knowledge, since they do not know the righteousness that comes from God, and sought to establish their own. They did not submit to God's righteousness. Christ is the end of the law, so that there may be righteousness for everyone who believes. Moses describes in this way the righteousness that is by the law. The man who does these things will live by them. But the righteousness that is by faith says, do not say in your heart, who will ascend into heaven? That is, to bring Christ down. Or who will descend into the deep? That is, to bring Christ out from the dead. But what does it say? The word is near you. It is in your mouth and in your heart. That is the word of faith that we are proclaiming. That is, if you confess with your mouth, Jesus is Lord, and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. For it is with your heart that you believe and are justified, and it is with your mouth that you confess and are saved. As the scripture says, anyone who trusts in him will never be put to shame. For there is no difference between Jew and Gentile. The same Lord is Lord of all, and richly blesses all who call on him. For everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. The word of the Lord. So the first thing that we realize in reading this about the law is that decency comes by the law. The problem with Judaism was not that they followed the law. God gave the law. The law was good. The Ten Commandments are good. And they're not just for Jewish folks. They're for everyone. I mean, they're really pretty basic when you look at it. It's kind of the bottom of the line morality. You know what I mean? Things like do not kill. Do not commit adultery. Do not steal. Do not lie about your neighbor. Do not seek what belongs to someone else. I mean, it's pretty basic principles to live by. I want to talk a little bit about political correctness. Political correctness gets a bad rap, and political correctness can sometimes be ridiculous, right? I've got a few examples of political correctness that's gone awry. Pitzer College declared that it was cultural appropriation for a white woman to wear hoop earrings. So if you're white, you can't wear hoop earrings because that belongs to a certain culture. I think that's when political correctness gets a little ridiculous, right? I think we're trying too hard. Evergreen State College told professors to take students' feelings into account when grading them. Now, many of us college students probably like, that would be nice, but ridiculous, right? Like, it might hurt my feelings if you give me a bad grade for that. A British student union tried to ban clapping and cheering because it was not inclusive to deaf people. I think they forgot that deaf people can see, and they interpret a lot of things by what they see, right? So I think sometimes we go a little too far, and I think in that way, political correctness rightly gets a bad name sometimes. But political correctness in general, I think in general, really, another way of saying it is being a decent human being. A lot of things that are politically incorrect are things that really are just plain rude or insensitive. And so here's a dictionary definition of political correctness. It's up on the screen. It says, the avoidance of forms of expression or action that are perceived to exclude, marginalize, or insult groups of people who are socially disadvantaged or discriminated against. Someone said it this way. When someone jokes about a group that they're not a part of, their words can contribute to discrimination against that group. The person who is making the joke doesn't have a lot to lose, but the people who are the butt of the joke often do. So when we start grouping people and making fun of something that is beyond their control, oftentimes this makes their humanity less or puts them down. And in this way, I think political correctness is just saying, let's be a decent human being. And sometimes we have to catch ourselves and ask ourselves, is what I'm saying insensitive? Or, here's an example. The other day I was talking to someone about us canceling our trip to China. And I said, I went to actually I have to go back to the Chinese consulate in Chicago. And I told the woman, typically you get a 3-month visa. And it's pretty expensive. It's about $130 per person. You times that by 7, it gets expensive real quick. And I said, listen, with this coronavirus, I don't even know if we're going to be able to go at the end of March. And what I don't want to do is spend $1,000 on visas that I can't use. So I was told that you can actually apply for the same price for a 10-year visa. And I said, that would be nice, because we will go again, and it would be nice to actually go a couple of times. We'd like to take Ian when she gets older as well. And I said, so that would be nice. I said, but understand, I do not want to pay for this unless I'm getting a 10-year visa. And she said, it's okay. I'll put you in the 10-year visa. But what I found in my experience in China is that, and this is where I have to second guess myself, am I saying something that's inappropriate or not, is that Chinese folks don't like to give you bad news. And so sometimes what we might call fudging or lying is just a cultural thing where they feel like to give you bad news would be a shame. And so sometimes they'll tell you what they want to hear. An example of this is that we had this woman that was our tour guide through Adoption Associates. She was Chinese, lived in China. She was our interpreter and dealt with a lot of things with our adoption process. And there were times when we were talking to people where she'd interpret for us, and we just got the feeling like we weren't getting the full story. What was interesting is that we watched a documentary on Netflix of a Chinese woman. She was about 18 years old, going back to China to find her birth parents. And our interpreter was in the documentary. She was their interpreter. And what we thought was right on, because they interpreted, she found her birth parents. And they would say things. And those things were not always what maybe you think you want to hear about why they had put together the adoption and that. And our interpreter gave a whole other story, a much nicer version. And we thought, we knew it! And so when I was talking on the phone with someone, I really had to second guess myself. And is what I'm saying, is that culturally insensitive? Or is that just a cultural general thing, like white Americans like their guns, Is that culture insensitive or is that kind of true? I don't know, right? So we have to kind of toe the line sometimes and figure out, it's not bad to second guess ourselves. I think in that case, it's something that you ought to be aware of when you're in China and dealing with the Chinese, that they don't like to give you bad news, right? The same thing with the coronavirus. It's probably worse than they're telling you. Not because they're lying, but because they're a shame-based culture. They like to tell you, they like to make things sound better than what they actually are, because they don't like to give you bad news. That, for them, is just being polite, right? But sometimes this goes really bad. Like when I saw on the news recently a bunch of white cheerleaders at a frat party using the N-word very loosely and derogatorily. I would say that's not just being politically correct to say that that's wrong. That just is wrong. Just be a decent human being and don't use that kind of terminology or talk that way. when we're not around those groups. Not when you're with them either. Or it's not right if you feel someone is wanting to pay you less for what your labor is worth or a product that you're selling. It would be inappropriate to say that they're Jewing you, right? Because this terminology came about when we were trying to make Jewish people seem less. And Jewish people aren't cheaper than anyone else, right? They're just regular people, usually oftentimes quite good with their finances. And for whatever reason, we needed to slight them and say that they're a part of a problem, and so we came up with this terminology that makes it seem like they're less than what they are. Most people wearing head coverings are not terrorists. They're actually just following a very biblical mandate. The Jewish people do it in a different way than Muslim people. And it is a biblical principle from the Old Testament. So when we wrap everyone into one group and say something derogatory about them, we can't really pass off as being, well, I'm not politically correct, because sometimes we're just being a jerk. Amen? And I think that we should stop being jerks, and we should weigh what we're saying and know the difference. When society asks that we not say racist and degrading things about other people groups, it's called being a decent human being. But anything becomes ridiculous when it's taken to extremes. Even the law that God gave. Paul says that people have taken the law too far. When they believe that they are superior and others are inferior, they've taken the law too far. When they think that they've earned their salvation through it, they've taken the law too far. Observing Sabbath to worship God and to rest from work, that's a good thing. It helps you to recognize that life and creation, it comes from God. That the world continues to rotate even when you stop doing, because God makes it go, not us. That's a good thing, but it doesn't make you great or others worthless, because they don't practice it the same way you do. Following basic moral codes are meant to make you a better person and a better neighbor, but if it leads you to mistreat others, then it's failed in its purpose. It's like thinking that you're superior just because your skin is white. Just to think that actually makes you lesser, not greater. Paul says the law has not made his people better if it has led them to despise other people groups. The law was given to help them be a better people, not a self-righteous people. In verse 3, so since they did not know the righteousness that comes from God and sought to establish their own, they did not submit to God's righteousness. The law was definitely made to make us better neighbors, but it never made us right with God or righteous. And that's because righteousness comes through faith in Christ. Anytime that you think that you're innately superior to another human being, what has happened is that you become self-righteous. And self-righteous is exactly the opposite of righteousness. This is why the Qumran community did not attain the salvation that they were seeking. Their observance of the law did not make them righteous. It made them self-righteous. It made them learn to despise even people within their own group. Righteousness means right standing with God. And Paul says that this comes not from our own achievement, but instead it was a gift given freely by God. Verse 4, Christ is the end of the law, so that there may be righteousness for everyone who believes. We are overlapping with last week's text, and we talked last week about how the end of the law doesn't mean it came to it's complete and irrelevant. It means it actually fulfills. Christ fulfills. It's what the law is always moving toward. It's what the law is always leading to. Christ. So when it says that Christ is the end of the law, it means that following the rules was never meant to be enough in itself. The law was meant to reveal what goodness would look like in action. But we turned it into a personal achievement. We used it to give ourselves an exalted status and justify our treating others as lesser beings. Exactly the opposite of what God had intended. But the life and the teachings of Christ reveal the great worth of all of humanity. The people that Jesus called, the people that Jesus broke bread with, the people that Jesus healed, reveal the people that God loves, and they're all kinds of people. people that were often overlooked, often marginalized, often thought of as second-class citizens, often thought of as being outside the circle. The life and death of Christ are powerful enough to wake us up to the realization that we all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. And our hope for right standing is that God has given us as a gift to his Son, who has alone earned our redemption. In verse 6, it says it like this: "But the righteousness that is by faith says, do not say in your heart, who will ascend to heaven?" This is the Deuteronomy 30 verse. That is to bring Christ down. Or who will descend into the deep? That is to bring Christ up from the dead. But what does it say? The word is near you. It is in your mouth. It is in your heart. That is the word of faith we are proclaiming. That if you confess with your mouth Jesus is Lord, and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. Here Paul is saying that we should not think that there is a way that we can earn our salvation. We cannot ascend to some level in order to earn it, attain it. We cannot descend or reach down far enough in order to pull it up. What is he talking about then with this ascension and descension? Well, it was Christ who was on high, and he of his own will came down to us, became like us, walked among us. And it was Christ who reached down into the depths of hell to draw us out. When we say the Apostles' Creed, and we say that Christ ascended into Hades, and the Scripture says that he led a great train of captives free, that's us. We're those captives. He did it. We could not. We have done nothing. We are better than no one else. There's only one hope for us, that we place all of our hope in the one, Christ. He has already drawn near to us by becoming one of us. And yet he alone is the one who is not only among us, but also more than us. Jesus is Lord, Paul says. And if you believe and you trust this, then he will bring you the rest of the way. Verse 10, "For it is with your heart that you believe and are justified, and it is with your mouth that you confess and are saved." And all that Paul is saying comes to this: we can trust God. Verse 11, "As the Scripture says, anyone who trusts in him will never be put to shame." Christianity has often stumbled over the same stone of the law that Paul is dealing with here in Romans. Between these chapters right here are really written to the Jewish Christians that are still caught up in the law and wondering why the Gentile Christians aren't following it. The next chapters that we'll get into will be addressed to the Gentile Christians. But Christianity has faltered in the same way that the Jewish Christians did. We have often implied that our salvation is based on things like right thinking and right practice rather than on Christ alone and what he's done. Right? Even today it goes on that there are groups that say you've got to observe Sabbath on a certain day, and there's one group that says that's on a Saturday and everyone else has got it wrong. And there's another group that says, well, that has to be on a Sunday, and it has to be done in these ways. And then, of course, there are those rules that I think are loosening up, and that we're seeing that are a little more gray than we used to. But don't drink, don't smoke, don't dance, don't go to movies, and don't be involved in an interracial marriage. How wrong we have been. Amen? I mean, this is pretty recent stuff. How wrong we've been. There are arguments about the right form of baptism, and some say you have to be baptized as an infant, and if you aren't and you die before you get that baptism, then you go to some purgatory, or you're in limbo. Or others that don't believe in purgatory or limbo, or even worse, you're in hell because you weren't baptized before you died. And then there are others that say, no, you have to be baptized as an adult. And if you aren't baptized, then you'll end up in hell, or if you aren't baptized with the right formula, with the right words said over you, then you are not saved. And then there's the idea that we have to have the right perspective on things like God's sovereignty, as though we could never really understand it. Or the right perspective on things like the end times. Do you believe in the rapture, or do you believe in millennialism? And there's many of us that don't really quite understand either. But somehow it's so pivotal. Or that you have to have the right ethnic heritage. We remember in our own country, it wasn't long ago that we justified things like slavery and Jim Crow law by our interpretation of the Bible that said that Cain had a mark on him. It never said what the mark was, but we interpreted it to be dark skin. And so we thought that those folks were somehow less, and that somehow they had to pay the price for Cain's sin, and it was all right there in the Bible. Christianity has had our own issues. In Christianity, we have seen and experienced the weakness of legalism. Today, we're just as divided as the early church was, just on new issues. For the Jews and the Gentile Christians, it was whether they're Jewish or Gentile, whether they follow this law and this practice or not. And today we're as divided, and we're divided on by questions that ask, well, how can you be a Christian and vote Democrat? While others are asking, how can you be a Christian and vote for Trump? It's the same old narrative. And what we have to recognize is that we are all works in progress. And if salvation depends on our own works, we're all doomed. Those of us who voted Democrat, we need Christ to redeem us. And those of us who voted for Trump, we too need Christ to redeem us. Whatever your way of thinking, it doesn't make you right with God. Christ alone makes us right with God. So we can honestly say that if Democrats become more like Christ, the world will be a better place. And guess what? If Republicans become more like Christ, the world will be a better place. But even becoming more like Christ is a work and the grace of God, not of ourselves. Working with God in this makes us better people, but it doesn't make us better than others. Christ in us is the hope of glory, and there is no other hope. Paul says that Christ has given a new law, and it's called the law of love. To love God with all our heart, mind, soul, and strength, and to love our neighbor as ourselves. And John says, if you do not love your brother, but say you love God, you're a liar. So the proof of our learning to grow in love for God is that we're growing in our love for our neighbor. And this is the new law. And it's truly that simple and that difficult. And we need God's grace to grow in it. Amen? Let's pray. Father, we ask your forgiveness. Lord, as we read about the Jewish Christians and the Gentile Christians, and we wonder how that's relevant to us today, while we ourselves are so divided. And we know it because what we talk about behind closed doors reveals it. If not to ourselves, certainly to you. So help reveal it to us. Forgive us for the divisions that we seem to not be able to live without. For the way that just as we overcome one, we seem to take hold of another. And we know that in some way, this is our self-righteousness at work. We thank you for your word that is ever relevant and brings us back to the recognition that we have all sinned and fallen short of your glory, even though we don't recognize the half of our sin and our fallenness. Make this too plain to us, that we might grow in love, that we might grow in love for you, and that this might be evidenced by our love for our neighbor, especially our neighbors who think different, who look different, who may even not treat us well. Help us not to return evil for evil, but to overcome evil with good. Then we will truly be disciples. We know that this is a difficult work, so we thank you for your Holy Spirit, who's at work within us, and able to do more than we could ever ask, think, or imagine. To you be the glory of the church, both now and forevermore. Amen.